This should be really fun. The Black Rock Extravaganza. So we all started out in Fernley, of all places, at the Super 8. And we got up in the morning and we decided that we were going to go and meet up at the Denny's. So we pull into the Denny's and everybody kind of gathered here, started to fuel up and, generally look at each other's trucks. Then we drove out to Gerlach. And Gerlach was where a couple of others, Mr. Bills and all those guys, gathered up. And you can see the whole truck line up here. I mean, it was really quite impressive. Everybody was there. They had come from far and near. It was just overall a really great group of guys. And this was our jump off. This was kind of the last piece of civilization before we went out onto the Black Rock Desert. So one of our first stops was the Black Rock Desert, which was actually full of water. You couldn't believe it. There were all these dust storms as well as that water on the lake, and we all gathered up here and watched the massive skies moving along and hoping that it wasn't going to snow or rain on us. When we came into the Soldier Meadow area, we went through some mud and made some debates and found this BLM cabin. I mean, it was way back out in there and it was totally outfitted for us. So we pulled up our trucks, we got out, we started looking around, see what was going on, and here's what we were seeing. Clouds were rolling by. We were worried that we were going to get snowed and rained on, so it was a little bit of anticipation as we got going. And there's Mr. Bills. People were trying to get around. It was windier than windy. And this cabin was absolutely amazing. It was even stocked with some reading material. And so we stocked it ourselves, bringing in all of the bourbon and scotch lineup. There were some more after that. And then we started to get together and eat for the first night. Now, you'll see a couple of snowflakes coming by. So, I mean, it was cold. We'd go inside and there was the stove and all of that. It was really quite fun. And some people braved it outside all the time. And you needed a little bit of protection to be able to make this happen just because it was so darn cold. The next day, we went out and we had seen a shelf road going up the side of the mountain. So Travis and I headed up the hill. We had to do a little bit of road building as we went along just because it was so darn rocky and such. And so Travis got out, helped me along, and we got over that hump, and it took a little bit of going, and then I jump in my car and go over that, and Travis is helping me navigate this as we go up the side of the hill. It was just gorgeous as the weather went. It was scary because that was a pretty steep little hill. And you just don't get a perspective from this of how tenuous it feels. And then there was this giant rock that we had to go over. That was tough. I got stuck, had to come back a little bit and take another run at it, and landed up there on the top, and it was great. So I did a little time lapse looking out over Soldier Meadows, and just beautiful. There was no one really to be seen out there as you go across here. These beautiful puffy clouds, they're moving along, just great, great, great. And so we hung out there, had a little bit to eat, and then started to head back down the hill. But just gorgeous, gorgeous. Little snow on the hills there. Then we went down to Soldier Meadows Ranch. There's a gate there. We opened that up and rolled on in. It was about a little afternoon when we were doing this, and we came up onto the ranch itself, which on the left there you can be able to see some of the rooms and stuff. There was a kitchen that they have, and just a really overall nice spot. The woman who was the maitre d' or the keeper, she showed us around, beautiful stuff, and looked like a spot that would be really fun to go to. Then we went up behind that area and started doing some road building. The road had been washed out by the heavy rains, and so it was pretty easy to dig. And we filled in one section and proceeded up a little bit further. It became clear that it was just going to be too much for us to be able to do all of it. So we headed back down, going past these deep ruts as we went through there, all the way up to pretty high up on the side of your car as we went along. But no one scraped and no one got stuck, so that was always good. And you can see our handiwork right there in terms of smoothing it out so we wouldn't drag our differentials. And so then it was back to the BLM cabin for another evening of entertainment and frivolity, and just absolutely gorgeous. I got another time lapse here of the clouds coming across. This is a little bit before sundown on the second day. Just huge puffy clouds rolling across there. We were much more acclimated by this time to the weather, and so we didn't have to hide in in the cabin quite as much. And we just ate and drank and had a good time. On my way home, I stopped by Bishop, stayed the night, and then got up really early and went out and thought I'd get a show of the sunrise on Mount Whitney in the Owens Valley. So came along 1:30, turned around, and there, Mount Whitney, and the sun will just splash across here. Absolutely gorgeous. It was well worth the wait as the sun came up and I started another day headed home. What a wonderful time we had. It was just beautiful throughout the desert, and I can't wait to do it again. It'll be absolutely fun and fabulous. Thanks, Chris.